Hello, hi everyone, how are you doing? Welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Hadil, and for anybody who has watched any of my videos before, my very few videos on here, where I have said that I had a plan and I was going to be consistent, etc., and it hasn't happened, I do apologize. Life really happened, and as they say, life happens when you have other plans. And I've just had a really hectic past few weeks. A lot has been happening, positive things, good things, but I've just really had very little time, and in some sense I had little energy to sit down and film anything. But mainly it's the fact that I had to prioritize other things in my life. I really do want to be more consistent on YouTube, because I want to be able to build like a nice little community on here and connect with other people. That is my main goal. And in a way, I really also want to have a diary on record for the books I read, my thoughts on books. So if anything, that is for me, for my eyes, for my record, but also for anybody who is interested in anything I have to say, and for connection. So I can't make any promises really, but all I can say is that I really want to do my best to try and be as consistent as I can, and not take such long gaps. I would like to be able to upload something every week if I can. So we'll see what happens from this point on. Today I thought I would just film like a general chit chat video, and also kind of an update on the books I have read this year. I actually haven't read many books. Like, I'm not your typical YouTuber, I guess. I don't even know if I can call myself a YouTuber, but I watch and I follow a lot of YouTubers who read so many books, and it excites me and it inspires me to want to read more. It's just, I just sometimes, life and gets in the way, and time, I don't read as quickly as I want to read, and I don't read as many books as I want to read in the space of time that I have. For example, now we are in August of 2025, and actually I've read 15 books in total. That doesn't include books that I read in relation to work or my studies. I do have to read textbooks for that. This is just books for, for entertainment, for my personal learning, entertainment, enjoyment, and so on. So I want to talk a little bit about some of these books, and which books so far this year I have absolutely loved, and which books I liked, didn't love but liked, and which one book I DNF'd. And it's not even, I didn't even dislike it, I just did not finish it. I wanted to prioritize other things with my time. So I want to talk a little bit about that, and I also want to talk about other things, just a general chit chat anyway, for anybody who's interested. But let's start with talking about books that I've read this year. I want to start off with a really positive. I want to start off with talking briefly about the books that I absolutely loved this year. And I say briefly because I would like to film more in-depth reviews on these books. I personally love watching review books. I am selective in what I watch when it comes to review books. I sometimes watch review books on books that I'm interested in reading that I haven't yet read. So I watch reviews to kind of inspire me or give me an ideas and so on. And sometimes I completely avoid review books and I actually go and watch them after I've read the book. because some books I choose to go in completely blind. And I'll tell you which books I have done that this year. So first of all, I've got 5 books that I absolutely loved this year. The 5 books. The first one is Notice. Notice. So Notice really surprised me. I didn't really know what to expect. Obviously, the book was, recommended by Ollie from Criminoli. And I say obviously because I have talked about this before. But he recommended the book as the most disturbing book that he's read. And I didn't really know what to expect. And it has surprised me. And it touched me deeply. And I really... enjoy is a weird word to use to that. I don't want to say I enjoyed it, but I want to say that I was really engrossed in it and really engaged. I really felt for the character. Her story touched me deeply, so for that reason I really, really loved the book. The second book, Loved, is not my typical genre of books that I go to. My least go-to books are books in the horror genre, anything horror or anything like that, really. But this book was recommended by a YouTuber, and I read it, and actually, again, it surprised me. I didn't know what to expect, and I loved it. And that book is Dark Matter, a ghost story, and I really, really loved it. If you're anything like me, you might also feel the same way as I do. I'd love to do a more proper review on this, but for now, I just want to say I really loved it. It's a story of a man who goes on this expedition in, is it in the Arctic? I think so. Somewhere cold, dark, eerie, lonely, and things happen. He ends up being alone, completely alone in that place, and he may be seeing a ghost. Maybe there is a ghost there. So I would recommend it personally. I really loved it. The third book that I loved, it's actually a reread, and that is The Yellow Wallpaper. And I have read this before. It's really easy to read. You can finish it in a very, very short space of time, maybe in half an hour or a little bit over that time. And I really love The Yellow Wallpaper, and it's a reread, so I really enjoyed that. And the next book is one that I haven't yet finished. I'm just taking my time. I feel like it's called The White Book, and this book I'm just really taking my time reading it and rereading the pages. So I read a few pages and then I leave it for a few days, and I go back and I reread, and then I read a few more new pages, and it's just so poetic and deep and philosophical and thoughtful, and I'm loving it. I've never read anything by Kang before, and this is the first book I've read by her. I do have another book by her, and I want to read all her books, to be honest, at the moment. So yeah, The White Book, I love it, and I am loving it. I'm more than halfway through, and it's just beautiful. It's really beautiful and poetic. And the next book is I Who Have Never Known Men by Jaqueline Harpman. And again, this is the book that I went into knowing nothing about it. So this book, I didn't want to know anything about it. I didn't want to read any reviews. I didn't want to read the blurb of the book. Well, I knew something about it. I knew that it's about a group of women who are somewhere. Well, they are in a bunker. Like, obviously, as I read the book, I know they are in a bunker, imprisoned, and then something happens and they manage to escape, and then their story begins. And it's a group of 40 women, but it's really, the story is focusing from one particular perspective, who is the main protagonist of the story, and her journey, her coming of age. You know, she starts out in the bunker when she's, well, she's there from a child. She's probably there when she's like, I don't know, 4 or 5 years old. And then when the story begins, I think she's about 15 at that point, in the book. And then over time she gets older, and so yeah, it's a story of her coming to age, you know, of her being, her experience being the youngest of the group of women, of much older women, you know, in their 20s, 30s, 60s, above, and it's her perspectives, it's her thought process, it's her feelings, it's her observations, it's her analytical thinking. It's a really wonderful, beautiful book. I'm really blown away by it, actually, and I would love to reread it one day. It was a really easy book to read. I read it maybe in the space of 2 or 3 days, but of course, you know, I'm busy. 2 3 days, I don't just sit around, you know, life happens and stuff, but I still managed to read it and finish it really quickly. It's just a really easy story to follow, and engaging and interesting, and I loved it. It really, really touched me. So these are the 5 books that I loved. Many other books, majority of the books that I liked, a couple of them are books in relation to my well, in sort of my related to my job, my studies, which is Yalom's The Gift of Therapy and Love's Executioner. I'm not going to recommend these, you know, unless you're training to become a counselor or a psychotherapist, which I am. I'm in the process of completing my final year now. So these are sort of, you know, stories that are relevant to me. It's not for everyone. Definitely not. So then another one that I've read that is nonfiction is Walk with Your Wolf. Yeah, I liked it. Number 4 is The Body is Not an Apology. I also really, really like this one. You know, so if that is interesting to you, maybe look a little bit more into it, and you can read it or listen to it. In my case, both of these, Walk with Your Wolf and The Body is Not an Apology, both of them are books that I listened to on Spotify. Actually, I already have a Spotify subscription, so these books are free with the subscription, so I've listened to them. And a few other books that I've read that I've really enjoyed are The Spear Cuts Through Water. It's a fantasy standalone book, and I really loved it. It's beautiful. Really enjoyed it. Really liked it. Project Hail Mary, I listened to the book. I thought that the narrator did a fantastic job narrating. I liked the book. I'm not crazy about it. I'm not gonna go and say, oh, you have to read Project Hail Mary. I don't know. I liked it, but I think I enjoyed listening to it. I think, like I said, the narrator really made listening to it extremely compelling. But yeah, I liked it. It's a fun, entertaining book to read / listen to. I also read The Hike. It's kind of like a thriller, you know. Just sometimes I'm in the mood to read something really easy, really quick, just something I don't have to think about too much when I'm too busy with life and I've got, you know, writing to do, or writing essays, or reading. I've just got a lot going on. Sometimes I just want to relax with a book that is just very, very easy to absorb. and I don't have to think too much about it. And The Hike did just that. I really enjoyed it. You know, I think there was a little bit more to it than just the story of somebody who is on the trail of these young women and basically threatening to kill them. And yeah, so they're trying to kind of trying to escape this serial murderer, if I remember correctly, to be honest. But you know, I liked it. There was a little bit more to it. It was a story of a friendship as well, or friendships of these young women. So yeah, it was fun. I liked it. I enjoyed it. Another book that I read that was just, again, fun, entertaining and easy read was The Burnout. It's a rom-com, so that was fun. Yeah, these are all of them. And the last one that I haven't mentioned is a book that I actually DNF'd, and it is Calypso by David Sedaris. So the reason I picked this book up is because it was recommended by two YouTubers that I follow, and they both spoke very, very positively of the book. And then I found it very cheaply, probably online, maybe from World of Books. So I bought it like secondhand. So I bought it and I started to read it. And when I started to read it, I just sat in the garden and I was reading the book, and it was fun. It was entertaining. The guy is funny. He's witty. He's telling the story, you know, his life story with his siblings and funny anecdotes and things like that. But so I've read quite a bit that day, and then I kind of put it aside and didn't really read for ages, and then I picked up other books in between. Then I went back and I read a few chapters. You know, I liked it, and he's funny and he's entertaining, you know. But at the same time, like, I don't feel invested in the book. I just felt like after a while, I just really wanted to move on to something else, even though I haven't finished it. So I just decided, I'm busy as it is, and I'm reading not as many books as I want to read as it is. So I might as well not invest my precious time, my valuable time, reading books that I'm not that much invested in, if I can. So I made the decision to DNF it, and I gave it away to charity. And so yeah, and I'm well, since then I've been reading the White Book and just really loving it. So yeah, so these are the books that I have pretty much read so far this year. There's still a few months left until the end of the year, and I really want to read books that I really end up loving and feel about them the way I feel about the books that I mentioned today. You know, how I Who Have Never Known Men, Dark Matter, The White Book, Notice. So these books, I want to feel that way about every book I pick up going forward, if I can help it, if I make good choices. And I do have some fantastic books on my TBR. Honestly, like, I've got so many fantastic books from different genres. I can read from any genre. I'm really interested in that. Like I said, normally horror is my least go-to genre, but I'm always open and curious to read, and to read things that I don't normally read. And yeah, I'm open to anything, really, pretty much anything. You know, when I think being a slow reader and not reading as many books as I would like to read, in some ways it is by design, it is by choice, because even though I want to read a lot of books, I want to be able to say I've read so many books, I'm really well read, I'd like to say. But at the same time, it's important to me to take my time and really enjoy, really absorb, really savor the books that I'm reading, especially if they deserve the time to be savored, if they are the kind of books that invite you to really reflect and think about them, and that invite a lot of deep reflection. I love that so much. So my point is that being a slow reader is not a bad thing, and it is to an extent by design that I choose to be a slow reader, because I want to really value and appreciate and give time to the books I'm reading. Yeah, and some books I just pick up purely for entertainment as well. Okay. One of the books, in one of the earlier videos that I've done, I mentioned a book which is The Salt Path. And then since then, I've come to learn about a lot of controversy surrounding that book. And I just, again, I gave that away. I'm just not interested in reading it anymore. It just put me off, you know, whether the controversy and the story behind it is true or not. I don't really know what the truth is, but just the fact that there is controversy around it just put me off. I'm just not interested, to be honest. And if there is any truth in the claims that have come forward, I'm definitely not interested in really supporting the author. I hope it's not true, but you know, I just feel like I'm not that interested anymore. So yeah, The Salt Path, I have removed it from my TBR, really. Today I was in town, and I was walking past the cinema, and I saw that there is coming soon, there is a film called The Long Walk, which is based on a book by Stephen King / Richard Bachman. Because actually I remember I wanted to read the book about 2 years ago, I think, and I couldn't find it anywhere. You couldn't really buy these books, at least I couldn't. So I ended up having access to the audio of The Long Walk, and I really did not like it at all. I found it boring. I found it really, really boring. I don't know if you have read The Long Walk by Stephen King / Richard Bachman, because I think he used that name at the time when he wrote the book. I don't know if the film will be any good, no idea, but I just did not enjoy the book at all. I'm not really familiar with Stephen King. I know of Stephen King, obviously, who doesn't know, but I haven't really read any books by him, I don't think. I have a feeling when I was a teenager, I have read 1 or 2 of his books, maybe more, but I genuinely cannot remember. I have a sense that maybe I've read Pet Sematary when I was much, much, much younger, but I just cannot remember if that was the case, or if I'm imagining things, or maybe if it was something that sounds similar to the story of Pet Sematary. I don't know. But as far as I'm concerned, I haven't really read anything by Stephen King except listening to The Long Walk, which I didn't like. So I don't know, but I do want to in the future read something by Stephen King, and see how I get on with Stephen King. You know, Stephen King has so many fans and so many booktubers that I watch and follow. They are big fans of Stephen King. So I don't know. I don't know if I'll be a fan. No idea. Right now, all I can say is I'm curious. That's all I can say about that. So yeah, I think that's it. I don't really want to keep this video long. Again, I just wanted to film an update, chit chat, and that's it. And I'll film another one soon. Hopefully I can, like I say, I can be a bit more consistent with uploading. If you've stuck with me this far, thank you so much. I really appreciate that. And it would be lovely if you haven't subscribed. It would be really lovely for you to subscribe. I really appreciate that. I'm grateful for the 34 subscribers that I have. I think it's amazing. You know, imagine being in a room with 34 people. You know, that's, when I think of it in that way, that is a big number. And I think 2 or 3 of them are people that know me. But for the rest of you, thank you so much for following me and for your support as well. And I would love to know, please comment on anything that you have thought about while you were watching. For example, if you want to comment about Stephen King, I'd love to know, have you read The Long Walk? What are your thoughts? Are you a fan of Stephen King in any other way? What about any of the books I mentioned? Is there anything that that you feel resonated with you at all? So anyway, thank you so much. And really, I really appreciate you, and I appreciate you taking the time to watch me. And yeah, I'll see you soon. Take care. Bye.